News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moskow.
Karen, we begin with the latest on the standoff between the U.S. and Iran, with the U.S. blockade of Iran's ports still in effect and the Strait of Hormuz at a near standstill. President Trump says the U.S. will begin guiding some neutral ships through the strait starting today. The president announced the effort, dubbed Project Freedom, in a social media post. We get more from Bloomberg's Jumana Bersecci in Dubai.
Certainly, there is a humanitarian necessity to get some of those vessels out of the Persian Gulf. They've been stranded there since the beginning of the war. It's estimated that there are about 800 ships just sitting there, 20,000 seafarers facing pretty dire conditions, extreme stress, fatigue, food and water shortages. So, yes, most certainly there is a humanitarian need to help those that are trapped there.
Bloomberg's Jumana Bersecci reports the president did not give specifics on how the U.S. would help ships through the strait, but U.S. Central Command says it will provide military support. An Iranian official posted on X that any U.S. interference in Hormuz would violate the ceasefire.
Well, Nathan, President Trump is suggesting Iran's latest proposal to end the war might not be enough to satisfy him. Axios reports the plan would set a one-month deadline for a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and end both the U.S. blockade and fighting in Iran and Lebanon. After that, another month of discussions could begin on Iran's nuclear program. And we get more from Bloomberg defense reporter Jen Judson.
Iran wants sanctions relief and reopening shipping first, and that is not what the U.S. wants. They want to see a resolution when it comes to nuclear concessions. So we're really in a very tough spot right now.
And Bloomberg's Jen Judson appeared on Bloomberg this weekend. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. can keep waiting Iran out.
We were running a marathon over the past 12 months, and now we are sprinting towards the finish line. And I can tell you that we are suffocating the regime, and they are not able to pay their soldiers. This is a real economic blockade.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tells Fox's Sunday Morning Futures the pressure may force Iran to start shutting in oil wells in the next week as its crude storage fills up, and pressure may be building in the U.S. as well. AAA says the nationwide average for a gallon of gasoline is $4.46. That's the highest since July 2022.
And Karen, another major story we're following this morning involves the health of former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. He is in critical but stable condition at a hospital this morning. Bloomberg's Michael Barr joins us with the latest from New York. Michael.
A spokesperson for Rudy Giuliani says the former mayor remains in critical but stable condition in a Florida hospital. However, spokesman Ted Goodman did not specify why Giuliani has been hospitalized. In a social media post, President Trump called Giuliani, who will turn 82 later this month, a true warrior and the best mayor in the history of New York City by far. Giuliani became America's mayor while serving in office in the aftermath of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. However, in recent years, Giuliani served as Donald Trump's lawyer.
I voted for Trump, but mostly I voted for America to save us.
He also aided in efforts to overturn the result of the 2020 presidential election won by President Joe Biden. In 2025, Giuliani agreed to pay two Georgia election workers $148 million in a defamation case. He was also disbarred in New York and Washington, D.C. In New York, Michael Barr, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Michael, thank you. Authorities have determined that buckshot from the gun of the man charged with trying to storm the White House Correspondents Association dinner struck a Secret Service agent. Janine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, is the federal prosecutor overseeing the case, and she spoke with CNN's Jake Tapper.
We now can establish that a pellet that came from the buckshot from the defendant's Mossberg pump-action shotgun was intertwined with the fiber of the vest of the Secret Service officer.
So it's definitively his bullet.
It is definitively his bullet. He hit at that Secret Service agent. He had every intention to kill him and anyone who got in his way, on his way to the killing the President of the United States.
Federal prosecutor Janine Pirro says a suspect, Cole Thomas Allen, has been charged with attempted assassination of the president and faces up to life in prison if convicted of the assassination count alone.
Let's turn now to the markets. Karen, tech stocks continue to lead equities higher. NASDAQ futures are up once again after rising almost 1% Friday. Both the NASDAQ and S&P 500 closed at record highs. Liz Ann Saunders is chief investment strategist at Charles Schwab.
S&P sitting at an all-time high right now, but only 7% of the index members are at 52-week highs. And it's only 15% of the index that's even just at a 4-week high. So we're developing a little bit of that concentration problem, and it would be a better backdrop for the market, medium to longer term, if we had some better breadth. Not yet.
Charles Schwab chief investment strategist Liz Ann Saunders notes the S&P 500 index has risen for 5 straight weeks.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moskow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.